It's hard to contain your excitement when you get something you've really wanted. Like the gold standard in automotive protection, WeatherTech floor liners. With deep sculpted channels and laser measured for total protection in the front, back, and even up the sides.
Dad, you're going viral.
What? WeatherTech me.
So don't be shy, enjoy. Order your premium American-made products at WeatherTech.com.
The Sprint Challenge may be over for 2024, but the racing is not done. This brand new long-form series has brought drama and excitement by the bucketful. So pour yourself a nice glass of rosé and get ready for fun here at Sonoma for round 3 of the Porsche Endurance Challenge. I'm Joe Peak with Ryan Marine as always, and this is one that we are looking forward to. The last of the hour-long races we have in this short season. And so far, this has been a fun one here at Sonoma Raceway, Ryan.
Yeah, it's been a great weekend, and this is really what we've been building towards all throughout the course of this weekend, this 60-minute race. You're right, it's the final 60-minute endurance race. We've got the 6-hour coming up in November out at Circuit of the Americas. But right now, the focus is on Sonoma, California, here up in Northern California wine country. What a racetrack this is, opened in 1968, 12 turns, 2.5 miles in length. And I could describe it, but why don't we bring in our special guest, Laura Eli, who was on track earlier today. Why don't you tell us about what makes this place such a challenge, Laura?
I think what makes it so challenging is you don't get to rest. It's always turning one way or the other. The straightaways are pretty short. They do have the modified chicane for us when we're here. But sometimes when you run the regular configuration through turn 9, it's super fast through 10. Doing it this way makes 10 a lot more safer. So, yeah, it's just always something going on, and then there's the walls around the sides, so it's a little like going to Road America sometimes on the west side.
Well, looks like they're already taking off for our pace lap, so just a quick update on where the points sit. Charlie Hayes currently leading in the GT3 Cup right now, while we have Michael Clark and Loic Hartog leading in the GT4 RS standings. But here we have our starting grid, and it's going to be Blake McDonald and Riley Dickinson on the top of it, along with MDK Motorsports in second in the 271. Then you've got Aaron Janson starting in third. He's going to be running solo, along with Tony McIntosh starting from the 4th position. And we get down to the 3rd row, where Josh Conley is going to be starting in the car for BR Racing in the 299. Mike Mim and Zach Vanier in the 6th position, going to be kicking things off on the outside of that 3rd row. Reinhold Kron and Charlie Hayes sharing the machine for the 7th spot. Therese Lalu going to be racing with Nick Romano in that car there in the 242, starting in 8th. Then we've got Luke French, who is going to be sharing with Connor Bloom, starting from 9th position. Then, Ryan, we've got Dmitry Novikov and Vesko Kozarov starting in 10th.
We get to the 6th row of the grid, and that's where you'll find a newly minted champion in Sprint Challenge competition, Scott Blend. He'll start alongside Brandon Hankins. Andy Lee sharing that car from Loftus Motorsports, starting 12th. Eric Lapp and Alex Sedgwick sharing the 13th placed car on the grid alongside Joel Johnson. Then in row 8, John Gilliland and Niels Meissner. Niels wrapped up a 991 championship earlier today. John Manship and Peter Toombs make up the outside of row 8. Row 9, Jim Slavic and Michael Miller will start alongside Caden Kelly, who has a couple of wins under his belt already here this weekend. And in the 10th row of the grid, we get to the Caymans. Ian Porter and Carolyn Conda, the teammates, starting on the front row. And we'll roll through the rest of these here as we go, Joe, because we're about to turn these cars loose.
Absolutely. So let's get ready for racing here for 1 hour and plus 1 lap, of course, here at Sonoma Raceway as they come out of the hairpin, looking for the call for the start. We've had a bit of messy starts in the first 2 races of the Endurance Challenge. Let's hope that we can keep this one clean as they wait for that green flag being held aloft. And there it is. Green flag is out. We head towards turn 1. Fast uphill left-hander that leads you into the blind. Turn 2. Looks like Blake had a good start. Jeanson's going to try and challenge for second place around the outside of the MDK car. And it looks like Bocuse is able to hold him off, but they're still banging doors as now they come into turn 3.
These two have been fighting all weekend long in the Sprint Challenge race, and it's not done yet. Still side by side at the top of the hill. In the meantime, here comes the Cayman start where Ian Porter's been able to snag the lead from Carolyn Condon in the early going. It's side by side for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th further back. But here we go, back to the Cup cars. And out in front, Blake McDonald showing the way. Bocuse has been able to hang on to that second spot, but he's under a ton of pressure.
And it looks like Jeanson actually dropped a position. McIntosh able to sneak by on that one. Surely he's going to want to try and snag that one back while we watch Blake come through turn 7, heading around this double apex right-hander, trying to skitter away as he had a good start, and those behind him battling does offer the opportunity to try and pull a gap.
Doing exactly that here. Really good start from pole position. Watch that battle happen out the rear view window, and that's exactly what Blake McDonald wanted at the start of this race. Bocuse doing a nice job to get settled in. That's a pretty good start for them. You know, Paul, he's been going all year looking for that first win. Maybe this is the chance to do it here in endurance competition. He's got a great co-driver alongside in Trenton Estup, so we'll keep a close eye on that car from the MDK stable.
Missed out with 2 second places again this weekend in the Sprint Challenge, unfortunately, and definitely starting to put the pressure on as they complete lap 1. Saw a bit of a slide from McIntosh coming through the chicane as well, so he's hustling the car as hard as he can, but he's lost ground as Paul is starting to turn the screws a little bit here, Laura.
Yeah, Paul's got a run on Blake, it looks like there, and both of them are great racers. And then keep an eye on Aaron, because I think he's going to make a run at him too.
I wouldn't doubt it. He's been so strong this weekend with 2 podiums, including a win in the first race for McIntosh. They'll hit turn 6 once again. It's been a clean start all around, so very much relief and happiness from all involved that we managed to get one started without any drama this time out. Top 4 all still staying relatively close, but maybe pulling away a bit from Josh Conley.
It's an interesting dynamic here between these top 2. These are both front runners in their respective series. USA West in the form of McDonald and the North America Championship for Bocuse, but they find themselves together here. I don't know how well they know one another. I don't know how well they know each other's tendencies, but they'll be going to school here certainly in the early stages of this race.
Ooh, look at how tight he's getting to the bumper of that 208 car, but unable to make an actual attack, but still trying to get him to sweat here as they come up to the braking into turn 11. Oh, and a late move despite a defense from our leader Blake McDonald to try and dissuade any sort of attempt. And some flashing of the lights, Laura. How much do you think that actually works behind the wheel, trying to distract these drivers?
I think it just depends on how often you're checking your mirrors. Blake probably is focusing forward. I'm sure he has a spotter that's telling him, focus forward. But yeah, he is defending, and looks like Paul is trying to get by him. Yeah, he's really fast, Paul is.
Really good on the brakes too. It seems like he's able to close in those braking zones right now, putting the pressure on the race leader McDonald. In the meantime, should update you on what's going on in the Cayman world. Ian Porter from pole position does hold the lead over his teammate Carolyn Condon. They split a pair of races here this weekend in Sprint Challenge competition, and again run 1-2, about 2 seconds between the two of them. Rob Walker and Michael Clark 3rd and 4th ahead of Patrick Dempsey 5th right now in the early stages here in that Cayman class.
They've got a couple of those GT3 Cup cars, it looks like, scored behind them, so not sure how they wound up back there unless they had an issue that we had missed. There was an issue apparently with the start. The GT3 race start is under review. We'll see if race control has anything more to say from that as we've already had twice now starts and restarts offer penalties in the Sprint Challenge earlier on this weekend. There is Ian Porter leading the way right now, and by a decent margin over Carolyn Conda. I almost guarantee you that Ian is kind of looking for revenge on this one.
I think you're right. He's not used to finishing second or really finishing off the top step of the podium. He's been pretty dominant so far in the season, of course, winning the championship in the Caymans in the North America Series. He's a race winner already in Endurance Challenge, picked up the victory at Road America, sits third in points coming into the weekend, and looking to bounce back after a disappointing day by his lofty standards, finishing second earlier today to Carolyn, who picked up her second win of the season.
And Ian is running this one solo, whereas Carolyn does have a driver partner in Alec Udell in with her, so that'll be fun to watch that one. As we know, Alec is incredibly fast, but coming up the hill once again, the gap is already extended quite a bit to about 2.1 seconds.
I do want to quickly cover off a few things from a strategic and rule set perspective here. We're talking about having single driver and two driver lineups across these two classes, the GT3 Cup as well as the Caymans. There are also within those two classes a difference in the two driver lineups. You have what could be called a bronze-bronze lineup of two lesser experienced or more amateur drivers, or you could have a combination of bronze and silver plus. And what the series has done to try and equalize those two classes, and this is all based on a bunch of data that they've seen about the relative pace of bronze drivers versus silver or higher graded drivers by the FIA. The bronze silver plus lineups have a longer pit stop than do the bronze-bronze lineups or even the single driver lineups. So with that in mind, we're going to see some of those things work out strategically, and we should see some cars lose some ground during the pit stops, but then come charging back through the field after they made those driver changes.
Now we're watching the fight between Janson and McIntosh. He's been getting close to him, but also we saw a flash down at the bottom as Therese Lalou had an attack from Luke French, and I know you were keeping a keen eye on that there, Laura. It looked like that's getting feisty.
Yeah, you know, one thing about the people in the West, this is a home track for a lot of people. Blake's been here a ton, Aaron's been here a lot, and also Luke and myself. I've been here, I don't even know how many times. So.
Is there some pride in defending home soil against the interlopers coming from outside of the West Championship?
Well, I think there is. You know, some of the tracks where we race more often, we actually have an advantage over the North America group, and you can usually see it in the times.
And I know Therese Lalou is one of those that considers this a home track. In fact, her family is here for the first time to watch her racing. They have not been to any of her events before, so she wants to do them proud. Unfortunately, it's not going to plan. She's got a 10-second time penalty added to her minimum pit stop time for a start violation. So even if she does hold off Luke French, she might not hold on to it in the pit stops sequence once she has to come in if she's still this close to him. Meanwhile, we're getting kind of two pairs breaking off. It seems McDonald and Bocuse close to one another, while McIntosh and Janson also nose to tail.
Paul Bocuse just set the fastest lap of the race that last time by, only marginally quicker though than Blake McDonald. I mean, we're talking 0.03 of a second between the two of them, so it's incredibly tight. Same story here with McIntosh, who's fighting desperately to hang on to third, and Aaron Janson, who's closed him down, and those two running so close together in terms of lap times. There's really not much between the two of them.
I was impressed with Janson, came up and talked to us even after the race, where earlier this morning he should have had the win, but made a violation on the restart as he takes a little look coming into turn 6. And when he was speaking to us, he just pretty much put his hand up, said, you know, that was on me to know the rule. And impressive how he's this fast, and yet he's humble and willing to admit when he makes mistakes out there. And right now he's trying to see if he can get a mistake out of Tony. It is really hassling him.
Yeah, he's staying on the driving line and Tony's defending, so you can see that Tony's losing some ground every time they do that.
This is, really much separated them from the top two. It's about 3.3 seconds between themselves and Paul Bocuse up ahead. Still can't quite find his way by, but all he has to do is shake him offline at the right time, and Aaron could have a good chance.
Yeah, Josh is doing a great job in P5 currently. He's had a rough weekend. The race for us this afternoon, he I guess got together with someone, but I know he's probably feeling better right now.
Glad to hear that he's feeling a little bit better, as you definitely want to be 100% inside the cockpit. Saw some more flashing of lights as Aaron is also trying to distract McIntosh. But watching back with our GT3 leaders, it's nose to tail, 0.3 of a second across the line between them, while Blake McDonald's just soaks up the pressure from Paul Bocuse. One thing I do like about endurance racing here, Laura, is it's not just these one drivers that need to be at this pace. Your teammate also has to be able to keep this up. So when we see them switch out, we could see a change in the dynamic.
Yeah, and that's one thing too with Josh. I think there are two that don't have a pro driver, and both of these leader cars have a pro driver. So that 30-second time gap should come into play.
Yeah, you read my mind. That's what I was about to bring up as well. These two, at least the way it's running. We got a spin there. That's Josh. Able to at least roll out of harm's way, but this has to be so painful to watch the field go by, all that hard work.
The announcer's curse, right?
Yeah.
You're discovering our pain.
Oops. Sorry,
Happens
Josh.
to the best of us. But quickly, to bring back that conversation, these two will have longer pit stops because they will have second drivers that are in that Silver Plus category. The two cars right now racing for third and fourth should inherit the lead. Both of those guys are driving solo.
That time. No, we haven't covered them a whole lot, but Porter still leading Conda back there.
Just quietly getting down to business, and that's continuing over here. He also is going to need to get comfy because he's in for the long haul, also one of those single driver lineups. It's 25 minutes more than the sprint races, Laura, but how much of a difference is it in the way you have to prepare yourself mentally as well as physically for going a full 60 minutes for those that are driving solo?
Yeah, I think you just have to take it as it comes. There's, all of the single drivers, most of them are younger and good shape and not quite like me, a little older and a little out of shape, but I think they have the stamina to go. And plus this being the third event, they've already experienced it, so they're probably pretty good at understanding what's needed.
We were watching Patrick Dempsey there for a little bit. He sits fifth in class there in the Caymans. He's sharing that with Patrick Long, so a really star-studded lineup for them. Patrick comes off of his first win since the WEC. We think back about 2015. So his professional career not taking long to get back on track as he takes his first sprint challenge win earlier this afternoon. Coming down into the braking, he's trying to catch up with Michael Clark in that number 17. Needs to get a little bit closer to try and do anything behind them. It does look like Pelichowski and Schmid are kind of locked in battle for the 6th spot as they come through the hairpin themselves. And coming back around to finish the lap, Bill's going to have to turn up the afterburners to try and get himself out of danger.
Yeah, it looks like the leaders are already starting to catch the back marker Caymans, so that's a lot sooner than the other two Enduros that we had earlier in the year.
Yeah, for sure. You got a much shorter lap around here, and there was a big gap between the two starts as well. That was done for safety reasons, but I do wonder if there's a slight advantage for the drivers of the USA West Championship that are used to sharing the track with multiple classes. The North American competitors, they're usually driving just the Cup cars or just the Caymans, so perhaps especially for someone like McDonald or anyway, some of the folks from USA West that have done this all season long, if this could be a little bit of a benefit for them.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, it depends on how aware they are when they catch to them, and this track's hard to pass even when you're not overtaking slower traffic.
I kind of wonder if there's a lesson having been learned by Paul, because remember, he lost the win to Janson when he was held up by traffic. So if he comes up to these cars up ahead, well, he was going to want to be closer than this, honestly, and Blake McDonald decides not to try and stick his nose in it first, and then on the second apex, he's able to sneak through. That does cost him a little bit of time, but Paul, again, not there, not close enough to try and capitalize, and he also gets chopped off there, Laura, through the S's.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It's just not a lot of room out here, especially when you get the... And they're, you know, racing one another, and they're not going to just want to move over at this point because they're still pretty close together.
That's a good point. The Caymans are still, you know, racing their own race, and they are not obliged to jump out of the way as long as they don't pull any blocking moves on the cars behind and just run their racing line. If they're still just running how they're running, they're trying to make up their own positions. Now, just finally able to get by Rafa Martinez is Paul Bocuse, and the damage has been done. It's up to 1.3 seconds.
Looks like Aaron's got into P3. We missed that pass.
Good catch.
Yeah. And that must have happened this last lap as well. So I wonder if that was also affected by the traffic. And well, as we saw, Aaron knows how to utilize that, because as I just mentioned, he was the one that passed on Paul Bocuse using traffic to sneak by. So clearly he's one to watch out for, Ryan. He seems to be a little bit sneaky in that sense.
Oh yeah, again, love his story, just the amount of work he's put in to scrap and claw and find an opportunity and to make the most of it when he's been able to get in the race car. He's won multiple scholarships, multiple shootouts to keep his career afloat, and really showing the kind of talent he has. And right now, I would say the message to Aaron would be, don't push too hard to try and run down these top two, because since he's a single driver and these two are going to have longer pit stops by rule, he should vault to the lead of this race without having to wear out the tires or take too many risks. So I'm sure he'll be aware of that. I'm sure the team will be letting him know as well. But it's an interesting dynamic with the longer pit stops for some of these lineups.
And the other thing that we have to keep in mind on that, because you were bringing this up earlier, if we get a full course caution before that pit cycle or before they decide to pit, that also really hurts those that have that longer pit stop time. So for Aaron, he kind of just has to be patient, like you said, and wait for the race to come to him.
That's right. That's what he'll be trying to do here. And we're getting close to the first of 3 pit stop windows. They're not official windows. It's not set exactly by regulation, but de facto they become pit stop windows. The single drivers must do their pit stop between 40 minutes to go in the race and 20 minutes to go in the race. So that's coming up here very soon. They could elect to get that out of the way. And there is some thought to maybe wanting to do that, although because the stops are so long, you'd lose a lap, multiple laps probably. So that actually probably would be a risk you wouldn't want to take. Nevertheless, the next threshold we'll get to is for the bronze and silver plus lineups. Their window effectively opens with 38 minutes and 30 seconds to go in the race, and then 30 seconds later the bronzes can come in and get those pit stops done, the driver changes done. And for those 2 driver lineups, the thing that matters is you cannot have your stint go longer than 35 minutes. So as long as they time it out, or the second driver is leaving the pit lane with 35 minutes or less on that clock, then they're good to go. So that's where those windows start to come into play.
Riding on board with Mike Mim and the 270 machine. He's been a bit quiet today, but it's been a nice steady run, still in 7th position. Unfortunately, from the view outside his windscreen, it looks like he really doesn't have too many people to fight with right now. So he's just kind of doing his own thing and ticking the laps off. I did see out the window that some more traffic involved in some of our battles. Therese Lalu is still hard fighting with Luke French for that 5th spot.
Yeah, they've been battling a long time, and both of them are West Coast drivers, and Luke's younger and Therese is new, and they're both doing really well. I think this is both their first seasons. Well, no, Therese ran some last year, but this is Luke's first season.
Yep.
Yeah, Teresa is down to the inside of Pelichowski. That looked a little tight there for our leader, Blake McDonald's, trying to lap him. I was going to say Therese raced in the West Series and then made the leap over to North America to try and seek a little bit more competition. Wow, that was a little ambitious from Bocuse. So Pelichowski has probably had enough of these Cup cars early in this race and shut the door.
Well, the bad news is these are the first 2, so he's going to have a whole lot more coming his way before too much longer. I think, you look at the line through that corner, you swing out so wide, it looks awfully inviting, and maybe Paul thought that Bill was leaving the door open intentionally for him to come through. That didn't appear to be the case. And what that has done is it's set up this battle here with Pelichowski and Schmid. They're locked in a duel themselves. And, we talk about how the traffic affects the faster car a lot, but the inverse is true as well. There's an art to being passed and to make sure it happens at a time and a place of your choosing. And we've seen that help and hinder some of these Cayman drivers already here in the early going.
So this is a battle for the GT4 class. And I think this is down around, let me make sure my timing and scoring is correct here.
I think Aaron is in the pits now, so looks like Aaron and Anthony both came in.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and did we miss Ian Porter and Carolyn Conda also pitting? Because they're being shown as far down the order as well. Yes, okay, they are in the pits right now, down in front of us. And the teams are working away.
Yep, so that the window is now open for everyone this time by. So that's not a surprise.
We've got Ian on screen. And these teams having to really learn on the job because, like we said, the Sprint Challenge doesn't have pit stops. And them doing tires is a bit of a new and different thing that they don't get to practice all that often. And on top of things, one thing I love about the GT4 cars, Laura, is it's kind of old school NASCAR where it's 5 lug nuts that they've got to put on and off.
Yeah, that makes it a little more exciting. You know, lug nuts roll off or they fall off the glue or whatever, and adds a little time. But I think 3 minutes is plenty of time, or 3.5 for some of them.
Correct.
To get all the tires done. But definitely a lot easier with a single lug.
There you see now on what I believe is Carolyn's car, which handing over to Alec Udell.
Looks like Luke French finally got by Therese Lalo on the last lap.
Okay, so a bit of a change there for those two. And now we're going to start to see the differences in the pit stop times as well, which should give us a clearer picture of what this is going to look like, especially since we've gone green since the beginning. Paul Bocuse pits in. He's going to hand over to Trenton Estep. I see Bill Pelichowski also pitting in. Michael Clark is getting his stop done. We're joined by another special friend who's also used to the booth in here. Lonnie Unser is now joining us. Welcome back to the booth, Lonnie, and glad you could come and join us here. What are you thinking so far of our racing in the Endurance Challenge?
Yeah, well, it's been some great racing so far. Some really good, competitive, clean racing, which we like to see. I see a ton of really close battles happening out here, which is also really, really fantastic. Haven't seen a ton of passes made quite yet, just because the nature of this track makes it quite difficult to set up that perfect pass.
Yeah, it seems like it has been tough for a lot of drivers out there. You've been racing in the Cayman Series over in North America all season long, so you've been witnessing this battle between the 86 and the 84 car from on the track directly. Do you feel like the 84 team can manage to catch Ian on this one, or does Ian look like he is bound and determined to run away?
Well, you know, it's tough because Ian, I believe, is doing a single driver endurance race, and I believe Caroline is switching with Cameron Lawrence, if I'm not mistaken. And, you know, you gain that 25 seconds by driving alone, so it's very, very beneficial for Ian to be racing kind of as a solo driver, but, you know, you never know. He might get tired. He could make mistakes. This is a long race.
Yeah, I think my longest stint once was a 2 hour at the 25 hour, and by the end of the second hour, you're pretty well. Even after 1 hour, you're really tired.
I can only imagine. Patrick Dempsey also going to be swapping out, so that should be Patrick Long getting into the car. Looks like Therese Lalu will be handing over to Nick Romano. They get the tires out for that car. That looks like Patrick Long just about ready to go. Remember, once they've got the driver in and everything settled down, then it's all about waiting for that minimum pit stop time to wrap up. He certainly looks like he is focused and ready to go as we look at him through the windshield, at his eyes taking in everything on this one. And we look back to Scott Blend. We haven't seen a whole lot of him so far in this endurance race here, Laura. He's coming off of a championship and looking to try and maybe add to his hardware.
Yeah, I think he's made his stop, so it looks like Blake's co-driver's leaving the pits right now, but I think Aaron and Anthony are going to inherit the lead here once it all shakes down.
I think you may be right. So this is coming across the line for Scott Blend, and I see Estep heading back out of the track as well, Lonnie, so they return to the circuit. The question is, where is Janson right now?
Yeah, I haven't seen him come into the pits just yet, so maybe he is kind of going a little bit longer and trying to get them that way.
Also looking for Blake McDonald's teammate, and where those two have wound up. So Riley Dickinson sitting ninth, but there might be a few that still owe us a pit stop on that one. Thank you for that, Laura, spotting him in there.
There's Aaron coming through the chicane.
Yeah, Aaron just now finishing up the lap, but I think Lonnie was right that is still a pit stop owed by him. No, he has been in. Okay.
Yeah, he and Anthony came in together.
So that means he's probably massively ahead, I would think. If that's the case, we'll try and get some timing. This is all a bit wonky now in these because we're still waiting for timing and scoring to catch up.
Yeah, I think Charlie Hayes Racing hasn't stopped yet, and that's Gilliland in the 298.
Gilliland, yeah, is. I'm pretty sure I saw that car stopped. Yeah, okay. They have stopped. They're in the pit stall right now.
Yeah, so is Charlie Hayes. So, yeah, Aaron's going to inherit the lead here in the lead, I think.
And Romano is also leaving pit lane, so that stop is done. So, yeah, Reinhold Kron is the only one that really owes us, and need Charlie Hayes to swap out with him, unless we're just not seeing him down on track.
They're in the pit lane.
They are. So they're at the very front of the pit lane, kind of almost out of our view. They must be pretty close to being done with their service. That means we should get things returning back to a semblance of order on our timing tower. We could really tell what happened through that pit cycle. I mean, it's hard enough to keep track of down here, Lonnie. How do you guys keep track of it out on track as to who is where?
Man, I think it's harder. It's harder up here. When you're driving, you know, you're just hitting your marks and you're looking for that next car. You're looking around to see if you have the faster cars passing you or you're passing lap traffic. And it's all about, this endurance racing is all about managing traffic and really, really understanding where you can let somebody by, where it's going to be best to pass somebody in relationship to the people that you're competing against.
So this should effectively be our leader now after this stop, as Aaron Janson goes by the parked car of Reinhold Kron, or Charlie Hayes, really, here in a moment, now that he's gotten into that car. But unless I'm seeing that Gilliland, okay, yeah, the time and scoring is updated. So yeah, Aaron Janson is definitely going to be leading this race, coming back around the 224 of Anthony McIntosh, inherits what will be second place. And then Riley Dickinson for BR Racing moves backwards because of the longer stop they needed for the silver.
Yeah, I just saw Charlie's car leave the pit lane. It's weird that it looks like timing and scoring didn't pick him up as he came by into the pit lane.
I think what it was is because they're beyond the start-finish line. It hasn't updated yet. Once Janson goes back around this time, we will see it officially as him leading once more. Nick Romano, I think, moved up that 242 despite the 10-second time penalty, because that's at least fifth, maybe fourth, depending on how long Charlie Hayes was out there.
Yeah, he went out. I saw the car leave right behind Nick and Scott. And so
Our leader takes it down into the hairpin. We are past the halfway point officially. 29 minutes left to go on the clock. And we will actually get the timing tower showing Aaron Janson as our leader now. And the gap is looking pretty darn big. We wait, and there, finally, at 7 seconds, we get an idea with Anthony McIntosh still trailing behind. Charlie Hayes still kind of cycling into position while we wait for the last remnants of those pit stops to wrap up. A little bit of traffic just in front of that 250 car.
yeah, it's great that we've had green flag racing for the whole time. Makes it a little harder to follow.
It does, that is for sure. All right, so Hayes just went by. He is still in fifth position. Nick Romano has managed to bring that car up into fourth. Although I haven't seen anything about the penalty having been officially served. That may still need to be getting that confirmed by race control. A big thank you to Laura Eli for joining us as well. Looks like she and Lonnie going to take off as Ryan comes back to join us out here. Currently seeing that Ian Porter is back up to leading in the number 86 down there in the Caymans, with Conda returning back to second place now that those pit stops have also finished. And we've got another friend coming back to join us, as we've got Therese Lalu hopping out of the car and immediately joining us to talk about what's happening out there. Therese, what are your thoughts about how the racing has been going?
That was a really great start. It was great to see some green flag racing, no yellows. While we were out there, Josh Conley did have a moment in 7A, but we were all able to get through there. I was unfortunately under attack for most of my stint, so I was looking in the rear view a little bit more than I was looking ahead of me. But I was proud of my stint, struggled a little bit with pace. Had the bias set to the wrong setting, so once I figured that out, we picked up some pace.
I'm sure that did not make things fun, trying to figure out why the car was not doing what you wanted it to. An update, we have a short pit stop violation for car 84.
That's Carolyn Conda.
Yeah, plus 0.420 seconds, so 0.4 of a second added as a post-race time penalty. The only way I could see that really being an issue is if there's a close finish.
Right, a yellow would be bad news.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It would bunch everybody up, and that 0.4 of a second really matters more. So basically what happens there is you've got a 1 second window. If you are under your minimum by less than 1 second, the difference is multiplied by a factor of 10. So in this case, they were under by roughly
100th, right?
Yeah, it wasn't much at all, and so that's what happens there. They were just slightly under, and I did get a message from the team saying that was going to be coming, and indeed it did. So they were aware that there was a problem, and it's going to be dealt with post-race. If you go over that 1 second under the minimum, then the penalty is significantly more harsh. So that's the good news, is it's a relatively painless penalty. Another piece of clarification from the Rafa Racing by JDX team. We thought that Carolyn would be sharing that car this weekend with Alec Udell, but she's not. She's driving solo, and that's why we saw her have the same pit time as Ian Porter, who is also solo.
There's quite a few drivers who've elected to run this race solo, with the silver disadvantage being what it is. Aaron Jean-Sam elected to run solo, which you're seeing work out to his advantage as he's in the lead. I have a bronze-bronze pairing, so I'm at the same advantage, but Carolyn decided, obviously with her incredible pace this weekend, just 3/10 off Pat Long with someone blocking her in qual, that she would run solo and be just fine.
It makes for some interesting decisions, though, right, for the teams to try and figure out how to play this. And there's one way of looking at it if the race goes green the whole way. There's another way that it could play out if there's some yellows involved, and if the yellow's in the first stint, if the yellow's in the second stint.
We banked on a yellow in the first stint.
Yeah.
That was why at COTA we weren't expecting a yellow in the first stint, and we ran Nick in the first stint, so he got that nice yellow flag. At COTA, at Road America, we knew there would be a yellow in the first stint just based off of the races that weekend. This weekend we've had some really great green flag racing. We just had the one yellow flag in our second race for GT3 Cup North America. But we thought if a yellow came out, it would be more likely to be in the first stint, which is why I elected to take that stint. But I am learning now that I'm up here in the booth that I got a penalty for a start violation, which I'm very curious about. I did make a pass at the start, but I thought I was past the start finish, so I wonder if that's what they're getting me for, but I'd like to take a closer look at that.
Yeah, well, we were trying to figure out if that has been served or not in the pit stop, because we haven't got any further messages. Usually,
Well, yeah, that's true. It does normally say that, but my assumption is that it would have been served because it was a 10-second additional time to the pit stop.
Yeah, and it's saying 3:11.
Okay.
So
and it did seem like a longer pit stop, so we did serve that. So we're in fourth. I believe just 11 seconds behind Riley Dickinson, so let's see what Nick can do. But I did get hit 4 times by Luke French behind me, which I called in, so I'm interested to see if there's going to be a penalty assessed there. He did push me offline a couple times.
Ooh,
here we go. Things spicing up between Zach Vanier. We're on board with Michael Clark. In front of him is that Rafa Martinez in front of him?
Well, it'd be Cameron Lawrence in
Cameron
Rafa's car.
Okay,
yeah.
fighting it out.
That's where it gets complicated here. So
JDX on JDX violence going on into turn 11.
And even with Michael Clark, it's Luke Hartog, the likely future Carrera Cup champion. He's about to clinch that. That's driving that car. So, yeah, we've got a whole host of new faces on board a lot of these cars here in the final 25
Those
minutes.
Caymans are so incredibly hard to get around with that 992 motor in them. You know, I tried to use one as a pick on French. It just did not work out for me.
And it's getting so tight here for the Rafa car. Having to give as much space as possible, but it doesn't seem like there is much space to give out there. So they come up through turn 6 now. I've been kind of keeping an eye on Riley Dickinson because a couple laps ago he set the fastest lap of the race and is still looking faster than both Janson and McIntosh. So I don't think this one is over, but it's a pretty big gap up at the front.
Yeah, I don't know about getting up to Aaron, but I think there's a pretty good chance he can get to Anthony at the pace that he's displaying. And again, the way that additional time in the pit stop is calculated, it's based off of kind of a median time from a lot of data sets, from a median silver lap time up against a median bronze lap time. And the idea is to kind of meet at the end. You know, when you have the silver in the car up against a bronze lineup, for them all to kind of intersect at the end, and I think it's shaping up that way. It's our first chance to really put this to the test because we've not had one of these races go green this long, but to this point, it seems to be working out according to plan.
They had some very stern words for us in race control in our drivers' meeting this morning that, you know, they expected a green flag race or, you know, we would be scolded firmly.
Well, we were also told at said drivers' meeting that people were using some questionable comments that Joe and I made at Road America to try and back up their arguments, which I would warn anyone, do not do. We are not speaking from any position of authority, and we try to know what we're talking about, but that's not a guarantee.
Yeah, again, we are not the race control officials.
No.
I am a driver. I do maybe have a little more insight as to the rules or what to follow, but again, we are not race control. We can't see in car the way that they can and really get into the nitty-gritty of how these penalties are assessed.
Holy smokes, we got a bunch of penalties coming in, and some of these are going to have consequences, I think. I'm trying to read this correctly.
This is the 85, so that's Rafa's car.
That is a big penalty, if
Holy
that's
cow.
right. 29.
29.7 seconds.
Wow.
For a short pit stop. How short was the pit stop?
Well, I'm going to say that they only did a 3-minute stop and they needed to do a 3:30 based on that.
Oh, because Cameron is a silver. Yes,
Yeah.
they would need to do a 3-minute, 30-second
yeah.
stop. They have added 5 seconds to the silver stop time for this race at Sonoma. We've been doing 25 seconds at COTA and Road America. Due to the nature of this racetrack, they've made it 30 seconds. So that's why you're seeing those 3-minute, 30-second pit stop times instead of 3:25.
A quick note, we just had that 85 car in pit lane
Yes,
again.
I saw that too.
So I don't know if they thought they were
Serving
serving
a
a
drive-through?
30-second stop and hold or something, but maybe they misheard. Usually you shouldn't need a second pit stop. Regardless, that definitely puts them in an even worse position. To finish off what you were talking about, the 297 has a 3.6-second stop, and then the 215 has a 5.6-second stop.
Not necessarily a stop, but time added on.
Yes, thank you.
At the end of the race. So the 297 is Sedgwick, who's down in 17th overall at the moment. And
They served a short pit stop, unfortunately.
correct.
But only a 3-second violation, so that must not have been too short. But Riley has taken a 2-second nibble out of Anthony McIntosh.
Yeah.
So interesting to see how that will go with 19 minutes remaining. 2 seconds a lap.
And it's a 5-second gap, so he should be there in about 3 laps at this pace. Now, some of that's going to be traffic affected, but great job, Joe, to point that out and set the table, because I think watching Riley and Nick, too, who's not too far behind at running times very similar to Riley's, watching them and Trenton Estep come up through this field, that's what we're going to need to be keeping an eye out for here in the run to the checkers.
Yeah, and Trenton is right on Nick's tail, and unfortunately that's my fault. I just did not show the pace that I could show in that lap, having to defend against French the whole time. So really sad to not have given my co-driver a better starting position, but that's how the cookie crumbles in endurance racing.
That said, you told me today that the goal was a podium. You felt pretty good about it, and the numbers at least indicate that there's a decent chance Nick can get you up into the top 3.
There's a shot. If Riley can get, oh wow, it's down to a 3-second gap between Riley and Anthony McIntosh. That disappeared quickly. But with Nick having to defend against Trenton, this could get really interesting.
Yeah, that
Trenton is less than half a second behind Nick. He's right on his tail.
Right.
That could slow things up a little bit, especially O'Reilly trying to pass now on the 224 pretty soon, most
Got
likely.
Johnson coming up on either Meissner or Gilliland. Not sure who's in right now.
I think
Meissner at this point in the race would be in. Great to see him defending against one of the fastest guys in the series. Aaron Johnson, I got to talk to him a little bit after the podium. He unfortunately got that penalty, so he wasn't able to stand on the top step today. But he's really looking forward to making an impression here today. That's what he said. I'm out to make an impression. I'm out to show what I can do. He's looking to continue on to Carrera Cup and hopefully GTD.
It certainly feels like he's making an impression with the speed he's been showing.
It just shows how good those MX-5s prepare you for any kind of racing. He's very, very new to racing, but has been doing the season of MX-5 with Jared Thomas, and is, has been at the top step of the MX-5 championship, which is really, really hard to do. And he's clearly showing that racecraft here, just incredible form for someone who's very new to this Cup car.
He spoke a little bit yesterday about the differences in adjusting from the momentum car that is an MX-5 to the power that you have in the Cup car
I know
here.
a little something about that.
Yeah, I was going to say you can definitely speak to the preparation that those MX-5s give you. What does translate? What do you feel like that helped you with when you jumped over to Porsches?
Being naturally aspirated, the Porsche, for all its power, is still a momentum car. We don't have as much aero as like a GT3R or some of those GTD cars, so you really are limited by mechanical grip for the most part. You do have a little bit of aero support, so you need to understand how to string together momentum corners, and that's something that's really a great crossover, as well as we're a lot tighter in the Miatas. We're usually 3 wide, 3 deep. We're used to more side-to-side, elbows out contact, which means we just have more passing experience, so you get a little more. I've been complimented on my defense a few times. That comes from the Miatas, when you've got to keep 3 of them behind you, because if one gets by, 7 are getting by. So, the defense is much more critical in the Miatas.
We're about to have a battle for second here.
Yeah.
We've got all kinds of lap traffic to deal with, but the second car in line and the fourth car in
But
line.
that's Alex Sedgwick in the middle,
True.
and I don't think he's going to be giving Riley Dickinson any, oh, there we go. Riley's got it in on Alex Sedgwick, and Alex is not going to make this easy for him.
But now Riley is at the back of Anthony McIntosh for the second spot, and he's been reeling him in hand over fist here. So the 2 middle cars in this pack, they're fighting for second right now, and it's a crucial moment for Riley because he needs to make quick work of this if he's going to have a chance to go run down the overall leader, Aaron Johnson.
What happened to the 242? We're down in 12th.
Nick is down, yeah.
Was there contact?
No,
I will say the last lap was a 2:13.
Oh, no.
oh, man.
Unfortunately, it seems
on
like he may
screen,
have been hit.
they're
Oh,
side
Riley
by
Dickinson
side.
is side by side with Sam Parnay.
Whoa, 3 wide coming into turn 3, and they're somehow going to come out with all 4 cars pointing the right way. I don't know how.
That's that Carrera Cup experience talking. Poor Anthony in the middle of that sandwich. I don't envy him.
Riley Dickinson makes the overtake. That's the second time we've seen him move into that corner, amazingly, this weekend. Dickinson now sets off to try and cut down on Janson. Now,
it's a 10-second gap that he needs to overcome. In traffic, they've been running identical times, but now Riley is clear, and I don't know, it doesn't look like he's got too much traffic looming ahead in the short term, so we're going to have a really good chance to compare their pace over the next few laps.
here's the fly in the ointment. A caution will erase that gap, and Aaron is going to have his hands full with Riley trying to make that pass if they get it restarted. So
Aaron
now
does have the same pace as Riley, though. At the top end of their pace, when they're alone, a fight between Riley and Aaron is going to be, tooth and nail.
I think we got another penalty. The 299 has a 25-second penalty, it looks like, for a short stop. That is
299, I believe, is Josh Conley. Oh, no, Tom Dyer.
Is doing the second stint,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And that car is 8th right now, so that will be really costly.
That's
Certainly dropping out of
actually
the top
incredible
10.
that they're in 8th after Josh had that spin in 7A, so they were able to really make up some ground there. Really curious to learn what happened to the 242 and where he went, but here's Trenton S. Or no, that's not Trenton. That is... Apologies.
That's the Manship
That's Manship car 216, which is currently being driven by Peter Toombs, being followed closely by Niels Meissner with Riley Dickinson closing in.
Yeah, this is that traffic now that Riley needs to get through.
Oh, we are 3 wide.
That's, I think, for position. Oh, he had to back out of it. He knows he's got to hustle if he wants to try and make a fight for the win, does Riley.
On the outside of the carousel. That's a new passing opportunity that's opened up since the repave. Previously, the outside of the carousel was a no-go zone. Now, after the repave in April, you can make some passes on the outside, as Riley has just shown, as he now has the inside of 7 and will complete that pass cleanly.
So the reason they were not exactly leaping out of the way is because Toombs is trying to play defense here. Meissner picks his pocket and gets himself up into 14th.
And Riley really used Meissner and Toombs as a great pick on McIntosh, who is now stuck in the S's complex, which is notoriously hard to pass in. So he's going to go for that pass at 9 right here, make that stick. Let's see how quickly he can get up to Meissner and get back in the fight towards Riley.
And I got to imagine this is so much harder, too, in these multi-class situations here, Therese, where you can pass the slower class because they have a disadvantage, but when it's your own class, suddenly there's a lot less to try and work with.
Absolutely. These cars, as soon as you get right behind someone, you get a little bit of aero wash, and that can make it a little bit harder to turn down. And so once you're right in the draft, you really have to, commit and have a plan.
I'm starting to wonder if we had any cars that actually hit their time.
That's not a bad point. We just had 3 more short stop penalties for the 216 of Peter Toombs, the 233 of Charlie Hayes, and the 270, which would be Zach Vanier and Mike Vinn. All my great friends, really sad to see us having these short pit stops, but it's tough. It's tough to time it out, and we're trying to ride it down to the wire. These races are won or lost in the pits, just like Road America. We ended up on that second step because our pit stop was just a little bit too long. So everyone's really trying to run it down to the gun, and unfortunately erring on the side of just a half a second short is going to cost you big time.
Oh, and from what I understand, a lot of the drivers were the ones who were asking, as that was close.
That was close between Charlie Hayes and Ian Porter.
Yeah.
But they're both really experienced racers who are heads up, and Ian was able to avoid that. We now have Carolyn Kanda right up Ian Porter's tailpipe. Let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, that helped her tremendously. She has now cut that down by a huge chunk. I was going to say, as we continue to watch this, Therese, is the drivers were asking for this endurance challenge and wanted this to kind of help everybody learn the ropes of endurance racing. How much do you feel like this has helped the teams kind of learn? Because, I mean, we're seeing these penalties, so clearly there's lessons that still need to be out there.
I think we're seeing who has experience with endurance racing and who does not. You know, there's plenty of series out there like WRL, WRC with NASA. The pit stops work the same way, so there's great ways to get experience in an affordable manner, but already being out here at the track with a car that you're super familiar with, this is a really accessible way for people who've maybe never done an endurance race like that to get some experience. And this is where you want to be serving the penalties, not when you climb up the ladder and you're in GTD or you're in WEC. Once you're with the big guns, you want to know what you're doing, and things are really, really down to the wire, as we saw with Parker Thompson in the last race at Indy. You know, they got the pass on Rexy in the pits, so it was a really, really awesome win. So this is a great low-stakes way for everybody to learn the ropes and continue to learn their Porsche machines as they, you know, most of us don't get the chance to run as long as an hour. We're working with 35 minutes plus 1 lap. So that chance for these people who are running solo to really get a feel for those longer stints, which they'll experience as they continue to climb the ladder. It's just a great, great way to do it. And I'm so excited for this green flag racing. It's making it so much more exciting.
Ooh, this time it's the other side.
But now Alex Sedgwick and Ian Porter. Let's see if Carolyn can close the gap a little bit further with these past cars coming in. She's right there.
Yeah, so twice in 2 laps now. Ian Porter has really had traffic in a bad way through there. I think that was just somebody went a little wide, that we had all that dust kicked up out of turn 4. Otherwise, I was afraid there's not much runoff to the outside of there. Somebody had gone off. We've gone all this entire way, 50 minutes now, without a full course caution after the first 2. Certainly had their own share of problems with the race being slowed down. I can't find any sort of real looking wood to knock on, unfortunately. But
you can knock on my head. It's pretty
I'll let the Rex do that for you. So,
Watkins Glen, that bus stop will knock your head.
Oh, I can imagine.
I'm pretty sure I got a light concussion over there. Ian and Carolyn neck and neck into 9 coming out. This is a super hard corner to get off of, going into the most dangerous corner on the track, turn 10. Where the bold and the brave are separated from the meek.
I did want to give one further update on some of these penalties. Car 299, that's the Dyer Conley car, has been black flagged. That car, it was not just a post-race time penalty. They had a stop and hold, so they must have really been under that, or had some other kind of pit infraction that didn't have to do with the time. I thought it was a time.
It could be if you exceeded the pit speed, perhaps. If it was just a pit infraction, it's likely to be pit speed at entry, which is actually quite hard to hit.
It does say a short stop. Stop plus 25 seconds. That is really,
I believe that's
harsh.
Isn't that just a 1 or 2 seconds too long? What's the multiplier?
I believe under a second it's a times 10 multiplier, I believe, but I should get clarification on that. That's the way it works in other series, but I can't say definitively that that's the case here.
I just remember from Scott Blind at Road America, he was 2.5 seconds short and had a 30-second penalty, so it's probably somewhere in that window.
Okay.
But we do have an incident under review between 242 and 271 of Trenton Estep. I was wondering if that happened during that pass. So we could not see it from here, so I have no idea what happened there. Looking forward to seeing how the race control determines what went on there. Caroline still staying within striking distance of Ian Porter. Again, this is for the top step.
Looks like 299 just served their penalty. I saw them do a drive-through just now. But yeah, Ian, I'm seeing a few cracks here and there because he went extremely wide into turn 6 this last time by down through the carousel. He obviously held on to the position, but it seems like this is an Ian Porter that's not quite as flawless as we saw at the start of the season.
It is much hotter than we've been running. It's quite warm today. Carolyn really seems to have something under braking, and Ian seems to have a little more on the exit. So it's always a trade-off. 6.5 minutes remaining, and they're running, I believe, nearly identical lap times.
Looks like Scott Blend is coming up to try and lap them, so that could also have an effect. They come up over turn 2, and at least this time for Porter, he's not going to have a car beside him going through turn 3.
They're only about 0.2 apart, so if Ian can maintain that 0.2 advantage, he should be able to keep that lead. And now we've got Scott Blind also running solo with Zach Vanier coming up to get into this fight between Ian and Caroline.
Yeah, like I said, this could definitely play a part. 2 cars trying to work their way through. One getting underneath of Carolyn down on the left-hand side at turn 6. She gives the space. That actually slows up Blend. We're going to look at 3 wide potentially here. Looking down to the inside, Vanier.
Vanier and Blend's going to give it up. He's not looking for any contact.
Yeah. He
said he's tired. He was thinking about sitting this one out. He said, I've had a long week. I'm tired. I won the championship. Is it worth it? And he said, I'll run anyway, which I'm really happy for. Scott's been one of the people that I've really enjoyed getting to know this year and racing with, and he's got incredible pace. He's racing in so many series this year, getting tons of seat time, and it's just great to see him battling it out here.
And that was for 6th place as well. So that's one of the higher up positions here in the Cup. Go ahead, Ryan.
I was going to say, I'm not sure who's got the brighter colored car of the two of you.
Well, my car should actually be the same color as Scott's. We had a slight printing error, but oh no, Scott Blend taps Ian Porter, gets him a little bit sideways, but Ian is able to maintain position. We'll see if Scott does get a penalty for that.
Now these Caymans we've been watching, Porter and Conda, again to reiterate, they are the leaders in the Cayman class. Riley Dickinson continues to make some inroads on Johnson, but he's been hurt by traffic the last few laps. He's been clear of that traffic and has made more progress, but it's still at 6.3 seconds. With 4.5 minutes plus a lap to go. He's got some work to do to catch this car, which is out in front and in clean air at the moment.
And I just watched Riley Dickinson head through the chicane. There was a whole bunch of traffic. It did not look like a quick line through there, so let's see what this lap looks like.
Poor Caroline really got hurt by those GT3s coming through between Scott Blend and Zach Vanier, and I believe Darius Trinka also came in. She ended up with a pretty significant gap there to Ian Porter, which is unfortunate. I was hoping to see a closer finish there. Oh, we've got some action with Riley Dickinson, and is that Trenton Estep?
I don't think so. That's Michael Clark, or actually, wouldn't it be Luke Hartog?
Oh, okay. Oh, so Carrera Cup champion on Carrera Cup champion.
Exactly.
Violence. It's like different cars. I'm sure Luke is screaming that he's on the Cup car right now.
Well, and that was a change for position, I'm pretty sure, because I was noticing Rob Walker was in 3rd, and now suddenly that 53 car is scored as 5th. So I wonder if there was either an off track or if there was a mistake. That puts Patrick Long into 3rd, Hartog into 4th.
Ian under pressure by Darius Trinka and Niels Meisner going into 11 with Carolyn closing as well, which you can't see here on screen, but let's see where they come out. And we've got Pat Long on Riley Dickinson. Pat Long, again, did a 140 in that Cayman, which is an incredible pace considering it's only a hair off where I qualified in my Cup car, although these cars are clearly capable of 36 or so, is what I put down this morning.
Yeah, they're incredibly fast. Now, I don't think you should feel too ashamed of Pat Long. Yeah.
In all of my 14 months of experience in Cup cars, I was just a bit sad that my race pace was faster than my qualifying time. But we'll get there. We'll learn how to qualify. We've got my 242 in the middle of the sandwich now between Ian and Caroline. Nick doing all he can to get back in the fight, but unfortunately it seems like that contact put him almost a minute down.
He sits in 11th currently. Last time by the line. He's also going to try that outside line. And
I will confess, I told Nick before this race, you bring me a tub or you bring me a P1, so it's the last race.
I hope he doesn't take that literally.
But I don't know, that contact with Trenton Estep, we'll see which way that went. But no, I'm really proud of him. He does not have as much seat time in these cars as everyone else out here, and he's showing some incredible form here, just like he showed at Spa. And really honored to have him as a co-driver and a coach this whole season. He has got out of the way between Ian and Caroline quite quickly, but that gap is shrinking. Ian had opened it up with that traffic, and now Caroline is right back in the fight. She's hungry with 1.5 minutes remaining. Looks like we're just going to get, I think, one more lap.
What's so amazing about Caroline and Ian is that we've seen each of them lead over the course of this weekend, and it doesn't seem like there's anything between them. When one is in front, the other matches the pace and vice versa.
They're both extremely competitive. If Caroline finishes second, she's extremely upset, as is Ian. No matter how many times they win, they just want more. She's never happy with just one win. She wants the next one. She always does really, really well when her family's here from France. Her parents are here today. And I think she likes to put on a good show for them. And it's, really, really love the Kunda family. They're great.
they seem to be a bit of a good luck charm because both of her wins this season, they have
been here for
been
both
there.
of her wins.
Yeah.
Which they cried at Watkins Glen. They're the sweetest.
This is
40 seconds remaining in the race, and we've got Caroline in the fight. Aaron Johnson still with a 5-second gap to Riley Dickinson. I don't think that's going to vanish, so good on him. I won't speak too soon. Don't want to jinx anybody.
Should point out the white flag is out here, so we might be working the,
that's
the
right.
final lap.
The white flag is out.
I'm so used to the sprint challenge rules. This is not +1
We
lap.
don't get the extra lap
Yeah.
here. You got to just take it down to the wire. So this is the final lap. It looks like McIntosh might be able to hang on to that third step. He's got 10 seconds to Trenton. So, good on JTR.
Leader in the carousel. In fact, right there he is. Aaron
He comes
Johnson.
down into 7. Nice, hairy, bumpy braking zone into a quick double right with almost no grip. But he shows how it's done going over that line, which track limits is not being enforced there, just FYI. So you can go as wide of that line as you'd like to, and you'll see them taking advantage of that. You can see him really wrapping and backsiding these corners, and that's how he's able to carry such incredible momentum through here. To have the car this stable this late in the race, he's really showing tire preservation, excellent line work, excellent racecraft, and great consistency.
Well, it has been a stellar weekend. He may not have won all 3 races because unfortunately he had a penalty that took one of those wins away, but on track
Here he comes
all
into the final corner.
3 times on track. He will finish first of everybody. Unbelievable performance from Aaron Johnson, taking victory in round 3 of the Porsche Endurance Challenge.
And just 5 seconds behind him, here comes Riley Dickinson for that second step of the podium, and we'll have to wait for McIntosh to come in next. He cut that down to 3.5 seconds. So he was really hungry on that last lap. And here comes... Where are my Caymans?
Yeah, we're looking to see where those 2 went here.
Oh, here's McIntosh for P3, rounding out that GT3 podium. I think we'll just have to wait 30 more seconds or so to see Ian and Caroline. We've got Alex Cedric entering the final corner, along with Charlie Hayes, Peter Toombs. Here we go, Ian and Caroline in 7, about to enter the SS complex.
It's not over.
Caroline has closed the gap, and she is faster under braking in 11. So if she can close that gap out of 9 and 10, we could get a drag race across the line.
We'll see. She's definitely got to be aggressive on this one. I think she's got to close it in just that little bit more. Not quite able to do anything.
She did get a better run out of 9A.
Oh, here we go. Coming to 11. Is she going to send it last race of, well, not the season, but last 60-minute race, and they've got a long break to the next one. She does not manage to get close enough to make an attempt. She certainly kept him honest, but Ian gets his revenge here in the endurance races. He is going to take his second victory in the Porsche Endurance Challenge. Wow.
That's a great 1-2 finish for JDX Racing. And congratulations to all of our podium winners. Who is picking up that third step? It's going to be Pat Long and the Caymans picking up that third spot.
Yeah, 3 podiums this weekend for Patrick Dempsey, so he has got a lot to celebrate.
Got our JDX crew on cam. Adam Roberts, our car chief over at Spa, they're on camera. So huge congratulations to Patrick Dempsey, who's had an epic weekend.
Big congratulations to everybody. This is our first caution-free race for our endurance challenge, so a well-run event for everybody involved here, Ryan.
It certainly was. That was a lot of fun, and that's what we've been waiting to see since this series debuted at Circuit of the Americas in May. We get that clean run to the checkered flag here today.
Not a single yellow flag.
Right. Can we do it for 6 hours at COTA?
I think we can. I believe in us. I have a lot of belief in this Porsche Sprint Challenge season. We've had a lot of green flag racing. VIR was 2 green flag races. We've had several fully green races, but this was just beautiful to see here at home in California. It's been an awesome year, and I'm really grateful for this opportunity to get to know you guys a little bit better.
It's been fun having you up here and certainly sharing your insight. Let's quickly take a look at provisional race results. I think this should factor in those post-race penalties. I believe timing and scoring has updated to factor these in. So Aaron Johnson leads the way. The BR Racing tandem that Riley Dickinson finished off comes home in second. He got close, down to within 3.5 seconds. That was up over 12 at one point, but it wasn't quite enough. I think traffic had a part to play in that. Anthony McIntosh completes the podium in third. ahead of Estep, Hayes, Vanier, Kozarov, Trinka, Hankins, and Romano. You do get yourself a top 10.
I'll take the top 10. We still have the incident under review
Post-race,
between
yep.
Trenton and Nick, so we'll see what happens. But big kudos to Charlie Hayes with 2 cars in the top 5. He's been showing, that he knows how to run an incredible program and how to, really recruit some incredible drivers like Aaron and Reinhold Kron, and he's got Thomas Merrill in his paddock. So really, really great season for Charlie Hayes.
And special for him to do it here, too. This is where the team is based, at Sonoma Raceway. Ian Porter gets the victory in the Cayman class, heading home his teammate, Carolyn Conda, those two running solo here this weekend. Third in class, as mentioned, Patrick Dempsey, Patrick Long. Great result for the two of them. Patrick Long just narrowly holding off Luke Hartog, who was on a charge in the final few laps. Luke's going to try and wrap up his Carrera Cup Championship in 2 weeks' time down at Road Atlanta as part of the Petit Le Mans weekend. And then Rob Walker, I would say a really solid day on a great weekend. But for him, driving solo the whole 60 minutes up against some of these big names like Hartog and Long late in the going, and he comes home just behind them in the top 5 and ahead of an Andrew Davis, ahead of a Cameron Lawrence. That's well done.
Super impressive. I could not get around him. I was stuck behind him in both races, and man, that guy's quick. So he's quick in a Cup car, he's quick in a Cayman. The man's just quick overall. He comes to us from the PCA world, so great to see him doing well, especially against some of the best.
Definitely.
I need to go console my JDX Racing teammate, but it's been a pleasure being here with you all, and I look forward to the COTA 6 Hour.
We'll see you in November. That is Therese Lalou. Thank you so much for jumping up here and joining us as always. And safe travels home. Not too far for you, though, this time around. So with that said, we have our podium celebrations upcoming. Joe Peak is already en route to Parc Fermé, and he'll be taking you through to honor all of our podium finishers and class winners in Porsche Endurance Challenge North America. But as a reminder, still to come this season, the season finale, and it's a 6-hour finale at Circuit of the Americas the weekend of Saturday the 23rd and Sunday the 24th of November. You can watch on all these same streaming services. We'll look forward to bringing you all the fun at the 6-hour finale of Porsche Endurance Challenge North America at Circuit of the Americas in a couple months' time. For now, though, let's take a quick time out. Joe Peak will be back with you in a few minutes to walk you through the podium finishers here at Sonoma.
Drivers to podium ceremonies, please. Drivers, head over to podium ceremonies, please. It's time for our last podium ceremony of the day here for the Porsche Endurance Challenge North America. We're going to start things off with the Cayman class. Finishing in third place today, driving the number 98, it's Patrick Dempsey and Patrick Long. Then finishing second today, driving the number 84, Carolyn Conda. And our winner, his second win of the season in the Endurance Challenge, number 86, Ian Porter. Congratulations, Ian. It's been quite the fight all weekend between you and Carolyn. It looked like you did not want to give this one up.
Yeah, I mean, that last corner, I think she was close enough, but I wasn't sure, so I just defended anyways. I was afraid to ask how much time is left. That 60 minutes felt like 3 hours. So
I can only imagine it might only be another 25 minutes, but how does that make the tires feel? Is it a lot harder at the end to manage the car?
Tires, not so much. You know, Yokohama tires are incredible. The physical side, a little bit, but here at Sonoma specifically, my coach Alec said it the best. It is the most mentally demanding track in the U.S. So,
well, I'd say that you stepped up to that demand, and congratulations on the win. That's our victor here today, Ian Porter in the Cayman class. And to celebrate, our winners can now spray the champagne. Congratulations to our Cayman class winners for round 3 of the Endurance Challenge. She got her revenge in the end. So now that takes us to the GT3 class. Finishing in third, driving the number 224, it's Tony McIntosh. In second today, in the number 208 machine, it's Riley Dickinson and Blake McDonald. And finally, our overall winner, driving the number 250 in a solo effort, Aaron Johnson. Congratulations, Aaron. That was another impressive win. I know it wasn't 3 straight wins this weekend, but that's 3 times finishing first on the road, which is just an amazing feat. You've told us that you came here to try and prove yourself. Do you feel like you've done that?
I think so, man. I love this car so much, and I just keep learning so much every race that I enter. And I know there's still a long way to go, but I definitely feel like I did. And I hope a few people may have noticed.
Well, I think there's definitely a few eyebrows that have been raised by these performances. We've got one more 6-hour at Circuit of the Americas. Think you'll be able to make it and test yourself even longer?
I sure hope so. We'll see if there's a spot for me somewhere. CHR puts out a rocket ship of a car, and if we're able to field this really fast, beautiful burnt orange 250 car out there, I will sure wheel it hard.
All right, well, we will look forward to that. A huge congratulations to our winner, Aaron Johnson. Let's show off those trophies. And for one final time this weekend, let's spray some champagne! Congratulations to the GT3 Cup winners. We'll, of course, have our banquet later tonight. For those of you watching at home, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Joe Peak. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.